speaker tonight is Holly McArthur, and she's going to talk about her creation called KinetiSynth. There's a bit of a blurb there, but I will not read that out. I'll let Holly talk to us.
So I developed a project recently. I've been working on it for about half a year now, kind of just as something to do, but also it's kind of taking on its own life now. It's called KinetiSynth, and I'll explain that when you understand a bit more about what it does. And I go by Goblin Audio at the moment, that's why that's there. So a little bit about me. If you don't know me already, I'm a musician and kind of tech artist. I came from an art background and then moved into tech towards uni. And since I finished my creative music technology degree in 2020, I've been working on bits of electronic music and little kind of mini audiovisual installations. I work in a program called Max MSP. I don't know if anyone's heard of that already, but it's kind of like I'm not a coder yet. I want to learn code, but it's like a modular programming software that has a bunch of objects that you can connect to each other that kind of develops code pretty quickly. So yeah, I've just been experimenting with kind of my realm is like very colorful, like maximalist spaces. I've also kind of done a bit of animation and stuff. And at the moment, I'm really interested in kind of sounds that can affect visuals or visuals that can affect sounds. And that's where we're at now. So KinetiSynth is an interactive digital music box that presents musical notes as audio responsive 3D orbs. So kind of, you'll see what that looks like in a second. They're kind of abstract shapes that kind of visually describe a sequence of musical notes. It's a computer installation that allows interaction with a palette of musical notes, and it uses a leap motion to track hand gestures. I've got one in the cupboard, not here with me now, but it's kind of just a little camera really that I bought that I didn't program it. I didn't build it myself, but I programmed it. And it tracks kind of the position, velocity, and kind of all of the bones in your hands, which I find very interesting. So you get a lot of data just from wiggling your hands around. The user can create unique melodies, so they're kind of different every time, and you can listen back to the melodies you've created through headphones. At the moment, this is kind of in its prototype phase, and I want to make it bigger and better. Oh yeah. So in Max MSP, the reason it's KinetiSynth is because it uses the physics engine, and it only uses kind of a bit of the whole power of the Max physics engine, which is really impressive. I want to dig into that more in future. So these shapes are kind of restricted by a physics hinge, so they kind of swing around each other and like orbit around each other to like restrict them. And they have like forces and acceleration and things. And so I play tested this and exhibited it at the Margate Tech Club, which I've done a few of now, and I'm going to do a few more. And the next phase includes expanding to kind of moving from a small computer screen to a bigger gallery space and putting more functions into it and making it more of like an education tool. This is a little video demo to show you what I've been rambling about. It's a couple of minutes long, and it should hopefully show you what it is.
Can you hear that? Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's all based on physics, I can kind of use, I've linked the kind of XYZ coordinates of the hands above the leap motion to some actual 3D meshes within the space that will collide with the shapes, and that is what causes the notes to happen.
Awesome.
So the reason I made this is I was just kind of thinking about my own kind of struggles with like science, maths, anything techie or scientific in school, which is kind of a very different place to where I am now because I'm actually interested in it now. And I have a belief that learning through playing with things and experimenting with things can sometimes be more powerful than just memorizing facts, and that's what I have felt through this work. I think that combining audio with responsive visuals can create a much deeper understanding of complex ideas, because you can see like a cause and effect and it happens instantly. I'm aiming to get this to a place where it can kind of be, at the moment it's like an abstract kind of art project, but I'd love to develop it into a like a learning tool like that's accessible and that all ages of people can use. And I think it has the potential to incorporate maths, music, and science, and that hopefully people can pick up a bit of everything from playing with something like this. So this is the Max patch. This is where all the programming has happened. And if you're not familiar with Max, this kind of looks like a bunch of spaghetti. There's basically it's kind of broken up into areas. So this is where the context and the rendering and the boring stuff happens. This is where the shapes are constructed. So it's not as CPU efficient as it could be at the moment because I've programmed each individual shape, whereas I'd love to just have an array of shapes that I can manipulate all at once. There's the physics kind of restraint stuff going on here. This is where there's like a sub patch here for the hands to kind of take the hand coordinates and turn them into those like the spheres. But I'll show you this and hopefully it will clear it up a little bit. This is just kind of a flowchart of what the setup is, what the functions are, and the flow of programming. So it starts with the leap motion, which was the hand sensor, which receives X, Y, Z coordinates, so 3D coordinates of your hand skeletons. And then I've programmed the hand meshes, so the sphere meshes, they are mapped to those hand coordinates, so they move just as your hands do. And the hand meshes displace the 3D shape meshes, so those colourful shapes. So you're kind of pushing them and pulling them, and it's almost as if they are here and you're doing that to them. Like I think the leap motion works in conjunction with VR now. I'm not too far into working with it, but I think it could be a powerful tool for VR. And so the 3D meshes, the hand position is also being kind of tracked, and I'm applying those numbers to the way the shapes look as well. So they're kind of morph while they're being interacted with. And that is also the position of the hands kind of dictating that. And yeah, so the physics hinges just kind of tie the shapes together. And it's actually when the hands are, when the camera can detect the hands, the music will start, that triggers the music. And when hands are not present, the hand sensor will essentially turn off, so it's not being triggered outside of that. And the other part that is also mapped to the hand position, so the actual numbers of the hand position, is I've programmed a bit of like frequency modulation on the actual notes of the synthesizer, and the octave, so that it's restricted to like a 7-note sequence. It's like a major 7 sequence, so it can only sound like it's not completely random, otherwise it would just sound like a complete mess. And so there's 2 octaves, and hands being above a threshold will be a higher octave, and hands below that threshold will be the lower octave. And then that outputs to the headphones so you can hear the audio, and the screen so you can see it. And so this was play tested at Margate Tech Club on May the 28th and July the 2nd. The second Tech Club in July was nature themed, and we were all outside for that, which is why I put some like bird song and things in it to tie it to that theme. But I think it's just a bit of randomness that kind of works. And that was great because I had a lot of really young kids come and play with it, which is kind of what I wanted. I wanted it to just be colourful and like instantly gratifying, so they're just playing with a toy essentially. And I got a lot of feedback, and I also tested whether the project could last for like a couple of hours without breaking, which is always good. The setup there just included a laptop, headphones, Leap Motion, and the time before the nature one, it was projected onto a wall. And now I'm kind of planning the next stages from this feedback. So the next phase of this will be to turn it from a prototype into an actual gallery show, and I want to put a lot more kind of robust programming into it. I want to, because at the moment it's a sequence of very rigid notes, and they play like da 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 da, which is it works, but it's not as I kind of would like it to be even more musical, and with that I could add more instruments as well. I could add percussion and things like that. And if it's on a bigger scale as well, I could have multiple sensors going on, and multiple people walking into a room can change things if they go to like a different side of the room. If there's like a family that come in, they could all kind of play together. So I'm looking into like Arduino sensors and things like that now. That's my first little foray into hardware because I'm more of a programming person. Um, and one bit of feedback I got was that they'd like to be able to record what they're playing so they can come away with like a little track that they've made. So I think it would just kind of be a bigger musical like groove box thing that they can interact with and see happening, and they come away with their own recording. And I want to dig into the physics engine more because I know you can do stuff with velocity, and you can also track the velocity of hand movements with Elite Motion. I've already said that. I think it'd be cool to do some workshops from this as well, get kids kind of making their own visuals and sounds and things, and kind of researching more about accessibility and neurodivergence in education to see if this actually could be applied to an education setting. And that is the project.